Draft Season Podcast, Black Twitter's number one fantasy sports pod. We are here. It's your boy Young Raz. I'm with my boy Sean 5K, and we are diving back into these 2022 NBA prospects. A lot of good players in this draft, Sean. Let's talk to them real quick.
We talking about none other than the Italian sensation, Paolo Banchero. I know, Raz, you got a chance to see him over, what was that, last summer at the Iverson Classic. Where you at on Paolo?
Man, I'm super high on him. And I don't want to bury the lead, but for me, he's my favorite player in the draft, and he he's somebody that comes out with an NBA ready body, and I know sometimes we do tend to overrate some of those players sometimes just because of their physical tools, and they were men amongst boys, but he also has the actual basketball game to back up that status from me, and from some other scouts as well. And I think he has he's very athletic for someone that size. It's not like herky jerky motions or anything. Like, everything is fluid with him. He can put the ball on the ground, on the floor. He has good footwork. I mean, he's pretty polished, and I think he has the ability to improve on some of this. Like right now, he's at a higher NBA level than a lot of these prospects, but I think he still has the ability to get better, whether that's the improvements on his shot from deep, some extra post moves and becoming a better defender. But I think as of right now, I don't see how you could have anyone other than for the reason of it being potential as a current better player than Paolo right now.
Well, let's start off with the negative, because we start off on the good side. I think the number one aspect with Paolo, what did you make of Paolo's defense? Because I wanted to start on the defensive end for Paolo. And, just in terms of, I think it was a point of contention for Paolo. Just that he doesn't have I think he's a fluid athlete, especially for somebody who was 6'10", 250. But you put him on an island with some smaller, the shutterbug type of guards, and they're going to blow by him. And I think that's to be expected. But I don't also think he is like somebody who has no hope on that end. So defensively, where did you end up on Paolo as a defender and his long-term upside there?
I think he doesn't have the lateral quickness on the perimeter. And I think that's something that NBA guards are going to start to attack in the pick and roll, especially in this switch heavy league. I think he probably will have to play, split some time at the 5 in the NBA, just because of that. But I think if he is someone who works on becoming a better help defender and a better rim protector, he's going to be somebody that improves his defensive stock. I don't think he's going to ever be able to gain foot speed. At this point, I think he's just going to have to work on being better in his positioning on pick and roll defense. And when he gets caught in the perimeter, just being able to contest on shots and keep things in front of him, he's still going to struggle against obviously talented guards. But I think the best place for him right now is to figure out how to become more anticipation on rim protection and help side defending, because I think that's the best way for him to improve his defensive stock.
Yeah, and I think he's good enough on offense, like point blank period, as an offensive prospect, to where, I think he would have to be really bad on defense for it to really change my outlook for him in the future. But I don't think he really is that. And I think a lot has been made about Paolo's defense. But like you said, he does have some untapped type of potential, both athletically and comes to just being a defender in general. I think when you do get him on the island with, probably not guards, but I think he can, when he's engaged in one-on-one scenario, so move his feet good enough to really stay and disrupt the ball, the shooters, in a consistent manner. Something that he showed on the grassroots level is he does have some upside as a weak side shot blocker. So I think that really alleviates a lot of the concerns with Paolo on the defensive end. But getting into what he does best, Raz, let's talk about the skill set on Paolo Banchero and just what we saw from him, man, because it's an advanced bag. So Like, let's speak about that for a second from your end. Like, just the skill level and where he's at for a teenage prospect and how rare that is.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to look at you look at the first thing I like to look at with bigs is footwork, especially when they're getting into those offensive moves. And he's someone who takes the bump. His footwork never wavers. He's still strong enough to take that hit, get to where he wants to, and rise up and take whatever shot he needs to. And I think it's someone where you're looking at a teenager, like you said, whose offensive bag is just so advanced for someone that age, especially like you said, because it's kind of an old school feel, and it's a little refreshing to see somebody who wants the ball on the block, who will take you off the block, if not dribble it out and power through you to get to what he needs. He has a fadeaway off the post that is unblockable, and he hits it with pretty good regularity. So it's just like one of those shots where it's like, if that's going in, there's nothing we're going to be able to do with Paolo tonight. I think the fact that he takes to take it strong at the rim. You always look at the big men who love to finish with dunks over layups, and when you're finishing with dunks, that's one way to ensure that one, you either get fouled or the shot goes in, and he's not looking to waste any offensive possessions. And I think he's someone who can also play make out of the block. I think he's going to be someone with when he's playing with the NBA talent and they're making cuts, and if he's drawing double teams, he's going to be someone who's going to be willing to pass the ball and get a better shot for somebody else. So I think his potential offensively is still untapped, and I think once he gets around some professional scorers, he may pick up a new trick of the trade, and then we may be looking at a different type of player.
Among the top elite prospects, I think he's by far the most offensively skilled player out of these guys. And you talk about just the polish, but Paolo in a half court offensive set on the perimeter, like, he's able to kill you in the high post. He's going to make a lot of money, scoring out of the high post. His face-up game is extremely polished and well developed for somebody his size and his age. You get him in the triple threat scenarios. There's not much that he can't do. He can shoot over his shoulder. He can get to his Euro bag. He can hit you with a sidestep three. He could play the bully ball game down low with you if you throw somebody that's not big enough to really guard him, to where the game isn't really played in the mid post in the modern NBA. Also has really good touch. He has a really good floater game, and he has a little push shot that he uses. Let's call it like the 6 to 10 intermediate range, to where even when he doesn't get all the way to the rim, he's capable of still finishing up and getting those looks. For me with Paolo, and I think you touched on the playmaking with Paolo, and I think that's kind of underrated part. I think it's the most underrated part of his game. And we talk about swing skill, pair Raz. This is not to compare Paolo to Carmelo Anthony Raz. We're huge Melo fans on this pod, but Melo does get his share of criticism for his game, not being the best passer and also not being a great defender at his peak. But Paolo's passing ability is extremely underrated, and kind of just changes the calculus here, for me at least, about Paolo as a passer. I spoke earlier, we spoke about Paolo, getting off to a rougher start. And a lot of the film earlier in the season, those first 8 to 10 games of the season, the ball was sticking in his hands and he wasn't making a lot of quick reads. But I don't know if it was just a rusting that he needed to get out of his system. He hadn't played basketball in a while before that first, what was it, the Kentucky game, I think was that first Duke game. Yeah. So I don't know if it was that, but I think in the second half of the season, he really showed a lot out of the mid post, not only scoring, which is a given with Paolo, but I think also, passing. I think his chemistry with Mark Williams was phenomenal. We'll get to Mark Williams at a later date, but just the ability of Paolo to, making those quick dump off passes and using his scoring gravity to create for others. So I think this is somebody who, we're not talking about a black hole offensively who's giving the ball in the post and the ball is going up. Paolo was able to, even back guys down, jab step, even he jab steps a lot, but he's also able to find cutters and even spray it out to weak side actual shooters. So I think he's just starting to scratch the surface of his potential in the second half of the season. And even what he did in the tournament is a huge part of I don't think this Duke team really had, the best spacing at all. I think they were really relying on Paolo as a scorer and what he was able to do. And even though he played with a couple of the ball handlers, but Paolo was really the engine for that team. That just going back to his playmaking for a second, his ability to really see over the top of defenses as a passer, as well as passing as out of the post, and real good anticipation levels for somebody his age. Grading these guys on a scale and seeing the improvement level that he made from the first half of that season to the second half of the season really made me it kind of brought me back onto the Paolo bandwagon, to where at that point earlier in the season, I had some concerns about him, but at this point, I'm really not concerned about Paolo at all. I think the shot selection is probably going to, need to be cleaned up a bit. And where does the shot actually, stabilize as a 3-point shooter at the next level? But for you at least, Raz, when we speak a little bit more about bottom line of where do you want to see Paolo go and putting him in the right scenario for success as an NBA player, what do you see from obviously these teams? And I think his floor is probably like 4, probably. Obviously, couldn't see the Kings passing up on him at that point. But the teams at the top of for the team at the top of the lottery, theorizing his fit, and how do you want to see Paolo utilized at the next level?
I mean, I want him to be. I want the offense not necessarily run through him, but I need him to be at worst the second option. I think from a fit, anybody can use a player that could be in this pick and roll, work from the block, and just generate offense in the way that he does. He would be great on the Magic. And I think he would. I think he would also be great on the Thunder. They don't deserve him again, as we keep saying this with that. But I think with Houston, it would be just an incredible amount of offensive firepower potential with him and Jalen Green and the rest of that team with a Sengun and all of those young guys. I would love to see how that would work, but I don't see him making it to Detroit. So that's a shame for them, because I think that would have been a great fit there. And if he does, drop past, I guess that, maybe Indiana, but it's like, they just got rid of one power forward, and maybe they're just going into a full rebuild, so Turner will be gone soon. So that would free up some space for Paolo minutes. But I think if we're going with the top 3 teams, I do want to see him, what that would look like on the Thunder.
So when we talk about face of the franchise, at least, and comparing Paolo to the other blue chip guys who are at the top of this draft, how do you compare the skill set, and in terms of long-term production and being the face of the franchise, how do you think, and let's just say, obviously team context does matter, but let's just say putting that aside for now and just talking about the skill level here and the player that you think these guys will turn into, whether that's franchise players or high-end role players, how do you think Paolo compares to these other guys at the top of this class?
I think at the top of the class, he is the top of the class for me, and I think he can be a franchise player there. I think he has the making of a multiple-time All-Star. I think he's a block you can build your team around, where what you're gonna get, and I think it won't be long till we're looking at high teens to 20 and 10 games from him.
My favorite fit for Paolo definitely is playing in Houston. I think that 2-man game that he could have with Jalen Green would be incredible. I mentioned earlier, just in terms of, you're going to be able to use Paolo in a lot of interesting ways. His ability to really grab and go in transition, that's going to be something that he's going to be really comfortable with. And I also think he's going to be able to play make in half-court settings, and especially with somebody like a Jalen Green, who obviously has on-ball prowess of his own right, but he also can play off the ball. Putting those two guys together, I think, just thinking about it out loud, even though I'm a huge Sengun fan, I don't know if I would like Sengun to be my 4-5 with Paolo. I think defensively you might be, a tad bit slow, just in terms of, I don't think they're going to be able to play a lot of, versatile defensive schemes if that's your front court of the future. So I don't know if that's the best long-term fit for that franchise. if Paolo's at 3, I think you'll worry about that later. Yeah, man, I remain a huge Paolo fan myself. Raz offensive game is just so polished. And the way he can score, pivot, stutter rips, Euro steps, finishing through contact. I finish off on other concerns with Paolo. And then taking a look at the instat finishing. I think he was around 60% as a finisher. Can struggle at times with length. And in terms of his bounce, it's kind of interesting because I was watching the shout out to Mike Smith's best in the business. He does those film sessions with the prospects, which is also always like, go check that out, obviously. And Paolo mentioned that he was like when he was younger, he was like an Olympic long jumper, which is like it's pretty interesting to where just thinking about him as an athlete, and he's currently listed at like 6'10", 250. I'm not exactly sure what is the best playing weight for somebody like Paolo. I think he, like, even if he loses, like, let's say 10 pounds and he plays at like 240 and he still keeps a lot of that power element, which is he's, like I said, he's more powerful than explosive as an athlete, and that combines with his level of just fluidity in all of his moves. So he could become a better leaper off like 1 foot, and especially when it comes to finishing in traffic and possibly just getting an extra grade of athleticism as he ages. I think that might really change his outlook a lot. So I mean, do you have any other concerns that really stand out to you for Paolo as we get out of here?
Concerns, no. I think it's just now we know we think he has a pretty high floor, and I think we need to figure out what position puts him in the best spot to reach his ceiling.
Yeah, man. So where do you guys want to see Paolo Banchero end up in the 2022 NBA draft? Leave a comment. Make sure you are liked and subscribe to that Draft Season podcast. We got content coming to you guys daily. We out of here, man.